So today we're going to look into a bit of one of the editing platforms that I use, which is Capcut. And I am going to be taking one of my videos and just showing one of the processes that I kind of go through to get one of my posts ready to upload. And this is actually a video that I made a while back that I just never got around to editing. So you'll kind of see my thought process, and I'll be able to show off some features as well. So before that, is there any general questions? Cool, then I will share the screen on my other device. I think I'll go ahead and mute myself here. Mic check. Ooh, let me mute this. Okay, mic check.
Loud and clear, no echo.
Very good. Okay, so I am going to share my screen. Okay, and then I'm going to open up Capcut. So one of the things that we talked about a couple of weeks ago when I was on is storytelling and how you can use different mediums, how you can use
children are in the chat. See the person.
and so I was telling a story about how I learned to, one, some of the concepts of never giving up, how to deal with failure, and how to deal with adversity and pushing through all the way until the end, right? And there's a story that I tell about when I really learned this lesson, and it starts with kind of my relationship with my mom and how we used to watch the Dallas Mavericks games together. So I will play just kind of the bare bones recording of it, and then I have some supplementary material that I'm going to kind of add into this video. So, but to first get started, when you first open up CapCut, this is kind of your main screen, and all of these are your different videos that you have. And so there's several different kind of options. You can actually open up your camera and record straight from CapCut. There are caption features if you were to take maybe another video that you have that maybe you recorded elsewhere and you wanted to import it. And then there's also a teleprompter as well, and a scripter also. And so the main part that we're going to be in is just doing some basic editing. So I'm going to click back down here. And so I am on my touch screen. And so I'm just dragging my finger across the screen. And that's basically how you scroll down the timeline. So I'm going to play this real quick, and then I'll show you how I'm going to kind of dress this up a little bit. Can y'all hear this?
I did not hear the video. I can hear you speaking, but I cannot hear your video.
Okay, let me go back to my Zoom real quick. There we go.
I remember watching this game with my mom, and we were.
What about now?
It's very low, but we can't hear it.
Okay.
I remember watching this game with my mom, and we were huge Mavericks fans. So you can imagine me being piping hot and turning off my TV because I just didn't want to watch my team get clobbered anymore. And my mom said, "Boy, what you doing? Turn that TV back on." I thought this was. I remember watching this game with my mom, and we were huge Mavericks fans. So you can imagine me being piping hot and turning off my TV because I just didn't want to watch my team get clobbered anymore. And my mom said, "Boy, what you doing? Turn that TV back on." I thought this was supposed to be your team. I thought Dirk was your favorite player. If you can't support them when they're down, then what kind of fan are you? You have to be able to support them and cheer for them when they're losing, just like you cheer for them when they're winning, because the game is not over until the end of the fourth quarter when you hear that buzzer. And I don't know how, but she was able to be very convincing, and I turned the TV back on. And let me tell you, my boy Dirk went crazy. Like, Dirk started going a little crazy. I remember when he hit this stupid shot. Being down 16 points in the fourth quarter back then, it was like, hey, man, go ahead and pack it up, King. But they were able to force overtime, ended up winning the game. And they ended up winning the game, and me and my mom are, yeah! And I remember her saying, see, you don't get to celebrate like this if you didn't stick with them and watch them grind and claw their way back to win this game. Until that last buzzer sounds, it is not over. And so from then on, I said, I will never give up on my team again. I will never give up on my team again. I will always believe that they have an opportunity to come back, to overcome obstacles, and win the game. And I got to watch so many amazing, amazing moments from the rest of that series to them winning the NBA Finals and a lot of things before Dirk eventually retired. And then I remembered that if I can believe in my favorite basketball team that way, then I can believe in myself that way. And if you can believe in this story that I told, then you can believe in yourself as well. A lot of people think that they're down and out. A lot of people think that they're running out of time. A lot of people think that there's too many obstacles in their way now, that there's too much holding them back, that they've fumbled too many opportunities, that they haven't made up for anything with their ability to score. And it just looks like they haven't had a win in a really long time, and that maybe it's not coming. But until that buzzer sounds, for whatever it is that you're doing, it's not over. And you owe it to yourself. That version of yourself in the future that gets to celebrate all of your wins and all of your success and all of your milestones, you don't get to celebrate with them if you give up on yourself now.
Okay, so the first thing is getting and this is with any editing software and any editing workflow, the first thing that you want to try to do is get what is called a picture lock. So we're going to go through and we're going to cut out a lot of some of these areas where there are hiccups, there are jump cuts, and those sort of things. And then we're going to add in the overlay, which is parts of the basketball game that I'm referring to. And I think the last thing that I'm going to do is add in the captions. So I will let you guys see kind of how I navigate this process.
I remember watching this game with my mom, and we were huge Mavericks fans. So you can imagine me being piping hot and turning off my TV because I just didn't want to watch my team get clobbered anymore. And my mom said, "Boy, what you doing? Turn that TV back on." I thought this was supposed to be your team. I thought Dirk was your favorite player. If you can't support them when they're down, then what kind of fan are you? You have to be able to support them and cheer for them when they're losing, just like you cheer for them when they're winning, because the game is not over until the end of the fourth quarter when you hear that buzzer.
So that's definitely something that we want to cut out. So I'm going to drag. I think you could see my touches. No, I don't think they do that on Zoom. But I'm just going to drag until right at the point where I'm pretty much done talking. I click here, and then we get all these different options once you click on your video. So you can split the clip, which is actually what I'm about to do. You can mess with the speed, you can add animations, all of that good stuff. So I'm going to click here, I'm gonna hit split.
So when you said,
Go ahead.
so when you say click here, you're telling us that you're clicking at a specific time frame, or you're clicking on a action to take, like on the split, like you click. I'm not clear on what click here is. Where is here?
Okay, that's what I'm realizing that that it doesn't actually show where I'm touching. So
Right.
let me, because I normally do stuff like this on my recording, and it shows what I touch. So I am basically touching this video timeline here. So I'm touching where it is on the video.
Okay.
So when I touch the video, it kind of lights up and you get that border around it.
Mhm.
That's basically showing you what you have selected. And then once you have that selected, then I'm clicking down here I'm touching down here in the bottom left-hand corner. And that's where I'm splitting this part of the video.
Okay, now what does
When you hear
split
that
mean and what does split do?
Split basically takes that point right where this line is, and it cuts the video in half. So now I basically have two videos on my timeline now. The video that's the first part before I hit split, and the video that's the second part after I hit split. This is what's going to allow me to cut specific pieces out of the middle of my video.
I don't care what they're saying there.
So it's basically wherever you do, it just splits it right at that point, and then you have everything before it and everything after that point. So I have two options that I can go from here. And what I typically do is I get to the next point. So this is the beginning of the next part of my clip. And so I can tap right here at the beginning of this second clip. And I'm dragging to the point of this white line.
Find out. So usually it don't work that way.
Somebody needs to mute. If you're not muted, please be sure to do so now.
Oh, okay. I thought that was a question.
It sounded like background noise to me. If I'm wrong, forgive me. But if not, if you're not on mute, unless you're asking a question, please go on mute.
Okay, and so I'm clicking right here on the basically the beginning of that new clip, and I'm dragging it until it aligns with that new beginning point, and then I drop it. All right, and so now it'll go straight from
fourth quarter when you hear that buzzer. And I don't know how, but she was able to be very convincing, and I turned the TV back on.
And so that's another point where I'm going to want to do the same thing.
I turned the TV back on.
So when I tap, this whole section, this whole new separate section lights up or gets that border around it. And so I hit split here as well. That little white rectangle with the dash in the middle, I can touch this, and now I can drag it until I am at the place where I want to be. And so you kind of have to drag slow and just read to make sure that you are where you want. And then once you release your finger off the screen, you have your new start point for the video.
And let me tell you, my boy Dirk
Okay,
went
Christian,
crazy.
you said that once you split it, it gives you the option or the ability to cut. Is cut and split the same thing?
Yes, cut, and split is the same thing.
Okay.
And let me tell you, my boy Dirk went crazy.
All right, and so we're going to come right back here. We're going to do the same thing. I'm going to get right about here. I'm going to tap right where I see that that large vertical white line, I'm going back over here to the bottom left corner, hitting split.
Dirk went crazy.
I'm gonna pause the video right here. Now I'm grabbing the front of this again, and I'm just gonna drag it over until it matches where my playhead is, or where that vertical white line is. So this is how you just
Like
start
Dirk started
to
going a little
trim up and
crazy.
take little
I remember
pieces
when
out
he
of your
hit this
video that you don't
stupid
need.
shot. Being down 16 points in the fourth quarter back then, it was like, hey man, go ahead and pack it up, King. But they were able to force overtime, ended up winning the game. And they ended up winning the game, and me and my mom are, yeah, yeah. And I remember her saying, see, you don't get to celebrate like this if you didn't stick with them and watch them grind and claw their way back to win this game. Until that last buzzer sounds, it is not over. And so from then on, I said, I will never give up on my team again. I will never give up on my team again. I will always believe that they have an opportunity to come back, to overcome obstacles, and win the game. And I got to watch so many amazing, amazing moments from the rest of that series to then win NBA Finals and a lot of things before Dirk eventually retired. And then I remember.
So I'm just gonna cut that little piece out there. Gonna do a split, and then I'm going to drag until I reach playhead.
And then I remembered that if I can believe in my favorite basketball team that way, then I can believe in myself that way. And if you can believe in this story that I told, then you can believe in yourself as well. A lot of people think that they're down and out. A lot of people think that they're running out of time. A lot of people think that there's too many obstacles in their way now, that there's too much holding them back, that they've fumbled too many opportunities, that they haven't made anything with their ability to score. And it just looks like they haven't had a win in a really long time, and that maybe it's not coming. But until that buzzer sounds, for whatever it is that you're doing, it's not over. And you owe it to yourself. That version of yourself in the future that gets to celebrate all of your wins and all of your success and all of your milestones, you don't get to celebrate with them if you give up on yourself now.
Okay, so we've done enough of trimming certain things in and out of the video. So sometimes your timeline can get pretty big. And so sometimes you'll want to kind of zoom in and out of your timeline. And this is going to be kind of weird to describe. This is going to be weird to describe because y'all can't see what I'm doing, what I'm touching. But if you use 2 fingers and you kind of spread your fingers out while touching the screen, you can zoom in on your timeline. And if you use 2 fingers and drag them closer together, you can bring the timeline in. So that makes it where I can go from the beginning to the end, and I can see a lot of my timeline all at once. So basically, if you look kind of like really closely, you see kind of where it says like 2 minutes and where it says like 1 minute and 40. I have my left finger kind of where it says 1 minute and 40, and my right finger where it says 2 minutes. And when I spread them further away from each other while keeping my fingers on the screen, that's what makes the timeline bigger, or that's what zooms into the timeline. And then when I bring them closer together, I get back to a place where I can see kind of everything at once. So that's the kind of place that we want to be in now. And I'm going to go ahead and add in what's called an overlay. So in the bottom left, in my bottom left-hand corner, there's an arrow here that gets me back to what is considered kind of the main screen of Capcut. And so now we can look at it.
Can you tell me where the arrow is? I didn't see it.
It's way down here at the bottom left. Do I have a, oh, you know what? I think I can. Tiffany, do you have the ability to turn annotations on for us?
Yeah, you should be able to do it because because you're sharing, but let me look and see if I can, I don't know if I can do it while you're driving, so to speak.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if
at the-
other me can do
All right.
it.
So what he's saying is, if you look at the very bottom of the screen, on the bottom left-hand corner, you see the word split, speed, animation, style, right? All those icons. Well, to the left of the word split, there's an arrow that's pointing back. Just like on your laptop, whenever you want to go back on yourself, when you want to go to the back, there's a back arrow. The back arrow, instead of being the upper left-hand corner of your screen, it's on the bottom left-hand corner is where he's pointing at.
And actually, it's lighting up right now as I touch it. Can y'all see that?
Yep, Miss Charlotte says she can see it now.
Okay, yeah, so it's lighting up as I touch it. And so I'm gonna hit back, and that takes me back to my main screen, right? And so we have different options. We can add music or other types of audio, which we're not gonna do today, at least for this particular video. We can add text on the screen, which is gonna be part of the captions thing that we're gonna do later. Stickers, effects, filters. I think the three things that we're gonna look at for the duration of this edit, we're gonna do text a little bit later, overlays, what we're gonna jump into now, and then we're gonna mess with the aspect ratio and possibly the canvas after that. So what an overlay is
Christian, I'm sorry. I have two questions before you go to
Yeah.
overlay.
Sure, go ahead.
Once you split, is it gone forever, or can you get it back?
So once you split it, it's not necessarily gone forever, because you can get, like, let's say you make some sort of mistake, right? And you split at the wrong time. You can click back and you see these two dashed lines on each end of the clip that I have selected right here in the middle.
Yeah, I see it now. Yeah.
So once you split and maybe you trim something out and you want that thing that you trimmed out, you want that back, you can just click back on the edge, right, of that clip and drag in the direction where you want more footage back from what you trimmed. Does that make sense?
No, because if you split it out, and so if you split it out and you're looking at the video that you got, that you split out, how do you find the part that you split out? If you've already made a whole video with that part that you split out, how do you go back to find the part that's actually split out to put it back in?
I see. So the part that you trim out, there's not necessarily if you kind of went through the process of your edit and you're further along, that part that you trimmed out, you just have to kind of know where you trimmed that out in order to retrieve it. Now, if you just made a mistake, like let's say I did a split, and I'm gonna go down here, right? Let's say I split here, but I didn't intend to split there. I can just go over here in the kind of the middle right, right above the timeline, you can see a little diamond, and then you can see a left arrow, and you can undo it. But once you kind of start to make your edits, you kind of just have to have a memory of what edits that you make, so you can kind of undo that.
Okay. I have a question along those same lines. So
Sure,
when
go ahead.
you upload your video, so the original version, is it still going to be saved? Like if I just need to start all over again tomorrow, I cannot finish this, and I'm like, I just need to walk away. Is the original version going to be saved? Do I still have access? You know how sometimes you can save, it'll ask you save as, so you still have the old version before you edit it, but then you have the thing that you just created.
I think with CapCut at this moment, they don't have version saves. For example, when I work in Premiere, it'll give, you can see different versions of your edit based on like little increments of time that you've done.
Mhm.
So it can be if it's been an hour ago or if it's been within 2 hours. But with CapCut, it's pretty much just all one file.
Okay, got you.
Any other questions before we move on to the overlay?
Yes, I was wondering, how you doing?
I'm doing well.
That's good. I was wondering what template or feature on CapCut are you using to be able to upload the original videos?
I'm actually about to you mean the video that like this video, the one that's imported right now of me?
Mhm. Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Yes. So I'll show you that in basically a new I'll go back real quick. I'll go all the way back.
Because I was actually on there yesterday, but I was unable to find the feature where you upload original videos
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
or
Let
the
me, and then I hit. Okay. So you see this big blue white line, and we start a new project. It's gonna tell you. So you were probably in templates because you probably used templates before. And right under, do you see where it says local?
Mhm.
And so if you're in the template section, to the left of that is the edit section. You
Mhm.
click on the edit section, you'll click new project, and it will automatically have you import the video that you want to begin the project with into it's that's the first thing it's going to ask you to do. Does that make sense?
Yes, but you
Okay.
would just have the video in your photos or something already?
Yeah. So right now, what it's doing is it's accessing my entire tablet in terms of media. And so you see up here at the top right, there's a part that says stock videos and the part that says albums, right?
Okay.
Albums is just the general space of where any type of media that you have will be present. And then it's broken down into videos up here at the top, right below albums, and then photos. So if you had a specific place where you know those videos are, you can actually click on albums, and I have like several different albums set up. So this is kind of a workflow that you'll want to get into, creating folders on
Mhm.
on your mobile device and putting those videos into those folders for certain projects. So I have projects working with like Keyblades or Adobe Express or just little names that I can familiarize myself with or gameplay. And so when you start to go and click on for example, keys, right? These are a series of videos that I'm doing based on Keyblades in one of the video games that I play. So so you get to that section by clicking on these drop down arrows up here at the top,
Mhm.
and then it'll show you all of the different albums that you have set up. But if you click right here at the top, there's one that just says albums. That's the general space for pretty much everything that you have. The stuff at the top is going to be the most recent. And then the further you go away from the top is less recent. Does that make sense?
Yes, and thank you so much.
You're welcome. And then and if any type of questions like that, don't hesitate to ask. I know that I've been I have and this is very helpful for me as well because I've been editing for so long in certain things that I know just naturally sometimes I can skip a step that you all may not understand. So please call me out on it if that is something that you're having a disconnect with, and I'll do my best to clear that up as best as I can, okay? So, gonna hit my X here, and we're gonna jump back into the project that we were working on. And so there is also, right, once you're inside of your project file, you may want to add more videos to your project file, right? And so one of the ways to do that is you see here on the bottom right, it is kind of a continuous button that moves along as I go towards the right on the timeline. But there's a big plus right at the end of my timeline, just on the edge of my screen. If you click that plus, it brings you to the same menu that I was just referring to earlier. Do y'all see that? I'm clicking this little plus button here, and that allows me to add new videos in. So I don't want to do it this way, but if I were to just add in, right, a little bit of that basketball, now all of a sudden I have the basketball gameplay right here at the beginning, right? And so I'm going to click on that, and then I'm going to delete it because I don't want it there. But also, if I were to drag all the way to like the middle here, right, and click on this clip, it should do this. I want to make sure that I'm not getting multiple apps mixed up. And I click on that video again, and I add it in. It adds the video in at the place where my playhead was. Which actually I am going to do that.
Yeah, it seems like you said you're going to add in the clip when somebody makes a score, right?
Exactly. Yep. And so some of it is going to be as part of the overlay, and then some of it is going to be part of what is called the main timeline or the main track. So there is a part of this clip that I'm going to put into the main track. So I'm going to hit the plus sign here. I'm going to tap the video. And so what you can do is it's giving me a preview of what I am about to upload into CapCut, and you can actually go ahead and crop it here. You see there's two little spots at the bottom. Well, in the bottom right, it says add, and then to the left of that, it says HD, and then to the left of that, it says crop. All right, so I'm going to click on crop, and I'm really only going to take the first 4 or 5 seconds of this, because it's the moment right where things get bad for my team. All right. And so these two edges of this clip work like the two edges that we saw in our timeline earlier. So when I just click on that little yellow bar with the dash in front of it, I can drag it away to include more of the end of the video. And then I can drag this away too to be closer towards the end. And that's pretty much the part that I want, which is where Kevin Durant hit that shot. So I don't want this. I gotta be really sensitive with how I do it. So we'll go a little bit further back. All right, and that's actually what we want. All right, and so even if you can't get it perfectly right in the crop, you can go ahead and push this check mark at the bottom right, right? There's a little check mark at the bottom right corner of my screen. In the middle, it says crop. To the far right of that is the check mark. So I click on that. And now in the bottom far right again, it says add, and it'll tell you how many clips you have selected. Sometimes if you're messing around and looking through your album, you may accidentally tap 3 or 4 different clips. And so sometimes you want to just double check to make sure that if you needed to add 2 clips, it should say 2. If you needed to add 3 clips, it should say 3. If you needed to add 1 clip, it should say 1. If it says 4 or 5, you probably have some stuff selected that you don't want to go into your timeline. So double check that and then get it imported. I'm sure that there's probably a little bit of this that that I didn't clip as good as I wanted. So now I'm going to tap right here in the middle. We're going to do one more split, and then everything after that, I know that I don't necessarily want for this particular clip. So I'm going to just delete it out of my timeline for now. All right. And so now we're going to scroll to this point, And I know there's another spot where we talk about Dirk hitting a crazy shot. So what I think I'm actually gonna do is I'm gonna undo that. No, that's fine. We'll redo it, and I'll probably just re-import the clip and trim it how I want. So we're gonna look for the part that says, there's a part where I say that Dirk hit some sort of
This game,
crazy
my
shot.
mom, and we were huge. I just didn't want to watch my team get clobbered anymore. And my mom said, "Boy, what you do?"
The timeline also has a little bit of momentum. So like if you do a quick swipe, like you swipe quickly to the left or quickly to the right and let go, it will move on its own for a little bit. So you can use that to kind of scroll quickly.
To win this game. Until that last on. And let me tell you, my boy Dirk went like Dirk's.
See.
Boy Dirk went like Dirk's.
So someone was asking earlier, right, if once you split the clip, is there any part of it that you can get back, right? This is an instance where I actually need some of that back that I split and that I trimmed away.
Dirk went like Dirk,
because I got cut off
my boy
when I was
Dirk
trying to say that Dirk went crazy. So now I'm just gonna grab the end of this clip. I'm gonna hit this dash and this square, and I'm just gonna drag it in the direction of the information or the media that I need.
Crazy.
Great example.
Yeah, so, and
So
then
it
I
doesn't-
still, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I apologize. So it doesn't actually clip it. It really just covers what you don't need. So it's still there if you need to make adjustments to it.
So yes, and that's actually a really high level, that's actually really a high level thinking when it comes to video editing, because technically this video is not actually, okay, this video is not actually in my timeline. All I'm doing is telling Capcut to recognize the video that's in a particular spot on my phone, right? And all it's doing is giving me this kind of visual representation of that. And so all I'm telling it is CapCut still knows exactly what all that information is. I'm just telling it, reference the information that I took away again, right? And I'm taking away that little preview window where I'm basically telling it, only look at this particular point right now for me. I can basically open that up and say, it's never really gone. We're just telling CapCut what to actually look at and show us in our timeline before we ultimately export it all out.
Got it.
Easy. 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 Crazy.
Okay, so what I'm gonna do is, this is moving a little bit too fast for me to trim exactly where I want. The way to kind of resolve that is to zoom in and get a little bit closer. And so now I can scroll all the way to the point about right here. I'm gonna tap that clip again, and I'm gonna drag it over to that playhead. Now, what a little bit of an issue with CapCut specifically is, normally when you have a playhead, when you have a, I'm calling it the playhead, but what that playhead is referring, what I'm referring to is that vertical white line that goes up and down that timeline. And a lot of other softwares, when you do something like a drag, right, it will automatically snap onto that playhead for you. CapCut is not doing that right now. So that's a little bit of an area where they could improve that. Okay, so that was an example, a little detour example of when you trim something, when you split something, how you can go back to retrieve some of those things if you need them. Okay.
Going a little crazy. I remember when he hit this stupid shot.
Okay, so we want to show the stupid shot.
Stupid shot.
All right, so we're going to do a split here. And so now I want something that's going to go in between these two. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag all the way to kind of the middle of this clip. I'm going to hit my plus here. I'm going to actually import, where is it? Okay, so what I'm going to have to do, because I did a trim earlier, this is a little annoying. Since I did a trim earlier, I have to tell CapCut that I want to reference the full video for this import and not the trim. So we're going to click the dot. Actually, no, not the dot. We're going to click the video itself. We're going to click crop. And now I have to tell CapCut again what I want it to reference. What I'm going to do in this instance is I'm just going to open the whole clip back up. I don't know why it was saying file doesn't exist, but I ignored it because I know it does. And so now I'm going to scroll to find that shot.
So basically you put the entire piece in, and at this point you'll have to cut that down to only what you need.
Exactly.
Cut.
So yes, depending on just kind of how your style is, you may try to crop it then. But for me, I don't really like the crop feature. I don't like the feature of cropping it before importing it. I rather put it in my timeline, because what I can start to do is I can make the timeline bigger, I can make it smaller, I can scroll faster, and it's just easier for me to get to the points that I need once the video is actually in the timeline. Does that make sense?
It does.
But for other people, that may be different, right? So you just kind of have to discover, after kind of playing with it a little bit, it's like, do I like, I think that was the shot right there, actually. Do I like cropping? Or do I like the freedom of moving through the timeline? It's actually a little earlier than this. So this part is mainly about just kind of knowing the media. Okay. There it is. Right? So we will tap right here. We're gonna hit split again. I'm gonna scroll just a little bit until the shot goes in, right? Now, in this instance, I'm actually gonna hit split again, and I only want the middle, right? So I have the beginning, I have the end, I have the part that I split out. I'm gonna delete the end, right? So I'm tapping that third clip there. I'm gonna hit right here where it says delete. On my bottom menu bar, I have split, speed, animation, style, and delete. I'm gonna hit delete there. I'm gonna click the beginning of that clip. I'm gonna hit delete again.
I started going a little crazy. I remember when he hit this stupid shot.
Nowitzki on the drive, nice fake, puts it up,
Being down.
And so now I think that's the last part that's gonna be inside of the timeline that I wanted to reference. And so this next part is not so much about being super detailed, but just grabbing interesting visuals that we want to have for the overlay part, right? So so we're gonna click right here down at the bottom in our menu. We have, well, actually, I'm gonna pause right there and say, is there any questions? Is there any part? Oh, I can see it. Let me make sure I'm not missing anything crazy in the chat. Is there a way to do a slow motion feature? Yes, there is. And I will show that. I'm going to catch up on some other comments to make sure that I'm not missing anything.
Yeah, I
you
think
have
you've
to.
gotten them, except for that. There's one at the end there that Monique asked, but I think for the most part, they've been helping to answer questions. I've answered some in the background as well. But I think Monique's question about the snap on the play cut, that part has not been addressed.
Okay. Mary was also asking, do you have to touch the screen? Now there's a desktop version of CapCut where you don't have to, where you can just use your computer. I personally have not used the desktop version of CapCut because whenever I'm working on my desktop, I use Adobe Premiere. But when you are working on your desktop or your laptop or a computer like that, you don't have to use a touch screen. But when you're working like off the tablet, it is optimized on tablets and mobile phones for you to use a touch screen. And then let me scroll back to what do you mean by snap on the play cut? Okay. It's difficult to describe this. So basically, what I meant by snap, I think you're referring to when I said that CapCut doesn't snap you to the playhead. So what I mean by that is I'm going to use the back end of this so that I don't mess anything up. Okay, so all right, so right here, I know that the exact point on this clip that I want to trim to is that vertical white line. Now, in a lot of other softwares, when you get close to that white line, the part of the video that you're dragging will automatically gravitate to it and stick onto that point for you, right? And it'll stick onto that point for you so that you have dragged yourself to the exact point, literally perfectly, of where you were trying to get your playhead to go, right? But if you don't have that snap feature, then even when you get really, really, really close, you're still technically guessing if you're right there where you need to be or not, if that makes sense. So, but in a lot of other softwares, you don't have to really do that guessing because once you get close, it'll basically automatically pull you onto that spot, like it'll snap on kind of like that, and then you'll be in the area that you were trying to cut to, or I'm sorry, snap to. Okay, so sorry about that. But again, keep asking those type of questions because in my mind, it has become so second nature. And so I have to remember that, it may be totally new for some. Okay, and I think there was one other question that maybe I didn't answer. I think, or maybe I'm caught up. Okay. All right, so now we're gonna get into the overlay. All right. And we're going to add this video back in. And this is just a part where we can kind of just get cute and just grab stuff that looks good. And is that me?
No, it's someone coming in again.
Oh, okay.
We're muted now.
And then, okay. So now that we've put the overlay in, right? As you can see, there's that green. Do you guys see that kind of turquoise sort of green square that's now on my screen?
No.
I'm sorry. It's a green little outline.
Oh, just the fact that the image itself. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So what that is it's just the overlay. It's the new video that I've put in, right? And so that new video, it's a little bit difficult to recognize at this particular spot, but it's easier to see here, right? And now I can take this video and I can put it anywhere I want on screen. All right. For these type of videos, it works really well when I put my overlays over my head. Can't explain, I don't know why, but I've done this in my main platform and I've done it in my secondary platform. And for whatever reason, overlay slightly over the head works really well. I'm gonna shrink this down a bit. And now all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go through, I'm gonna use that split feature to just cut different pieces out. So I'm just gonna find stuff that I like. Oh, see, we're already to the end. Okay, so this is where it gets a little tricky because the overlay is longer than the video is. So I'm gonna split here. I'm just basically just gonna grab anything that's not a timeout. I'm gonna split here. I'm gonna click this. I'm gonna drag it to the beginning. Ooh, I lost it. Let's make sure it was. I'm gonna hit undo. And I'm gonna hit undo again because I dropped that somewhere and I didn't see where it went. So I'm gonna do right after this timeout. Gonna do a split. Actually, we're gonna do the whole last couple of minutes actually. So we'll do right about here. Right. I'll do a split here and I'll take everything that's the beginning and just get rid of it. All right. Now I'm gonna tap on, oh, you know what? That's something that I didn't explain. I'm gonna drag this video all the way back up to the front. And whenever you have an overlay, sorry that I didn't explain this. Whenever you have an overlay, they're gonna put that video overlay underneath your main video timeline or your main track, which is this first series of videos up here at the top, right? And so now you can start to kind of do what we were doing before. I'm gonna do a split here, drag a little bit. Gonna do a split here, drag some more. Okay, so I went too far. So I'm gonna undo a couple of things because I trimmed out too much of this video. I'm gonna grab. So I'm grabbing my clip right now and I'm gonna move it a little further down the timeline, just kind of moving it away from the beginning. And then I'm gonna grab the front of it and I'm gonna pull back towards the front so that I get more of that footage back. I'm actually gonna do that 2 times. Because I just want more of that footage. What I'm also gonna do now, because it's a little difficult for me to, I'm gonna make this a little bit bigger I'm tapping right here in the middle and I'm spreading my fingers apart to kind of make that a little bit bigger. just for the purposes of being able to see everything that's going on. And so I'll do a split here. All of this is more so subjective stuff, so I won't waste too much time on this. And then this is basically just the part where you're picking what you want out of it. And it's really just kind of the same type of stuff that we discussed before, just splitting out what you need and getting rid of the rest. So for time's sake, I will just kind of grab some random points. I'm going to shrink this down to make sure it fits. I'm going to clip that here or split it there. Split here again. Then I'm going to go all the way to this point. Do a split here, split there. Gonna delete everything after that, everything before this. Clip this or touch this and drag it all the way to about right here. Because there's probably 2 more things that I want to show and run out of time. So now this is a good thing too. So what will happen is once you start kind of compiling your timeline, CapCut tries to make it easier for you to kind of have yourself organized a little bit. As you can see down here at the bottom, it says audio. That was where my kind of overlay was. And so if you need your overlay back, right, there are these bubbles that are at the top, right above my main track, right where you kind of see my face and me talking. There are little bubbles. Bubbles indicate where you have overlays. And so when I click those overlays, it gives me that track back where now my overlay is at the bottom underneath my video. Hopefully that makes sense to everyone. Let me read Missy's question. Hello, I'm not sure. Question back out. Do we require some type of permission from our live platform? Oh, I apologize for coming in late to the department. I'm not sure if this question was asked. Do we require some type of permission from our live platforms so we don't get lashed or account removed? I get nervous whenever I want to show clips from movies and books and such. Please advise. That's a really good question. I'm glad that I looked over and saw this. And forgive me because I am looking at a different, I'm physically looking at a different screen while I'm working.
And you're good. Don't worry about it. What's going to happen? You'll teach. It will, and always to go back and get questions.
Okay.
Everybody trying to double.
Okay. So here's what I'll say about that. Missy. It's really tricky, right? It's really tricky, and you have to kind of play around a bit because certain platforms kind of what's the word? They will exercise these kind of rights or abilities differently, right? So sometimes you got to be worrisome when it comes to YouTube about that sort of thing. A lot of times with like TikTok, they're more lenient on what they consider like fair use, which is a term where it's like if you are using a creative property, and you're referencing it as part of your media, as opposed to just blindly throwing something up and having it perceived as a broadcast, right? So it's one thing to just upload, right, a random basketball video, right? It's one thing to upload, you know, a couple of screenshots of a book because there's something that you're quoting from it. It's one thing to take a scene from one of my favorite scenes from The Lion King is when Mufasa says to Simba, being brave doesn't mean you go looking for trouble. I quote that a lot in a lot of my content and just a lot of my everyday life. So sometimes I'll take a small clip of Mufasa saying that and I'll add that in. That's different than just throwing up 20 minutes of footage from Lion King or 20 minutes of footage from The Walking Dead and that sort of thing. That's the type of stuff that you kind of have to worry about. But typically, when you are purposing it with with content and intent, you don't run into many issues. The one that you have to be a little hesitant on is YouTube, and you just kind of have to watch and monitor it. Does that make sense, Missy?
Absolutely. That's what my concern was, like, because I have a new launch and it's about pages and scripts, and I was like, wait a minute, I know a lot of people got kicked off, and then some people, they don't get kicked off. They be having, like you said, 20 minutes, and it might not be exactly on point and content, but like they have where some people are okay with, and some people, they say, every time they send something out about a script or a book or something, they throwing a hammer at them. So that's why I was like, oh man. So YouTube is a no-go. I'll leave that
I
alone.
would. So I'll also say this: video
Mhm.
footage can often be purposed into your content with a degree of freedom. You want to be very, and this is with TikTok too. This is with TikTok, this is with Instagram, and this is with YouTube. They're very strict when it comes to music and copyright audio, even more so than video. So you want to be really careful about music, speeches, and that sort of thing if it's just the audio clips alone, because what they have is an algorithm that can tell if you have audio that directly matches audio that's in their library that has been referenced as something that they want to copyright dismiss. Does that make sense?
Okay, I did not know that.
So be
Okay.
Yeah, so be really, really, really careful with audio. Be really hesitant. I'll use a different word. Be really hesitant. Be hesitant with audio. Be careful with video.
All
You can
right,
get
and
away with a lot of video stuff. You can get away with a little bit of audio stuff, maybe. So that would be my answer to that. Very good question. I'm glad you asked that.
all right. So with that, Mr. Christian, with how about with LinkedIn? I don't know the other ones, but LinkedIn. What about that? Is that okay for
So I
movie and?
I would use the same principle really across all social media platforms. I don't dabble as much in LinkedIn. However, one thing that you got to think about is that we are in a very competitive market right now for content creation, right? And so everyone is kind of getting equalized in terms of the way that they enforce and navigate all of this stuff in general, right? Even I would say, even when it comes to TikTok specifically, the stuff that you could do on TikTok 12 months ago is not the stuff that you can do now, right? The stuff you could do 18 months ago on TikTok is not the stuff that you can do now, because what they're doing is they're all competing for your content. So YouTube actually just recently, last week, lowered its monetization threshold for being able to start kind of monetizing your channel. You used to have 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours. Now you only need 500 subscribers and 3,000 watch hours. And basically what that is that's YouTube saying, I know you can go make money, and I know you can go build your brand and and find your audience in all these other places. Let me give you more in an incentive to come over here. While that battle is going on between Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, some of the other platforms coming up like Clapper, all of them are going to start really zeroing in on making sure that anything in relationship to rights and legality and all that good stuff, it's going to become more consistent amongst all of them. So you just got to be watching and just seeing what's going on in the different spaces and and that sort of thing.
Okay, very well. I appreciate this. This is really helpful. I don't want nobody throwing no boot at me. I just want to get the content out, what I'm trying to say.
I hear you. Okay, so the last thing that we're gonna do, let's see, let me make sure. Okay, so I'm gonna actually real quick, I'm gonna zoom in. I'm gonna grab the tip of this clip. Oh, do y'all hear that? Do y'all hear that buzzing?
No, sir.
Okay, what that buzzing is, and on my screen, it wasn't doing this before, right? Which was a little odd to me, but it wasn't doing this before. But this is actually what I was referring to before when I talked about snapping onto another clip.
Mhm.
It's doing it now. So I'm scrolling, and right now, you see how it jumped quickly to the front of that white line? As it jumps quickly to the front of that white line, what's also happening is I'm getting a vibration on my mobile device that basically says, I am snapping you onto this point. So I'm not sure why it wasn't doing that earlier. And I knew that felt weird. Okay, so it does do it on here, and you'll be able to feel it when you're working with that footage yourself. So I'm dragging this, and I want it to start right at the beginning of this clip, and it's snapping that right into place for me, right? Which I actually don't want it to start at the beginning of that clip. I want it to start like somewhere else. Okay, so last thing we're gonna do, do we have 3 more minutes, Tiffany?
Meet 3 more minutes.
All right. So we're gonna hit right here at the bottom of our screen, we have edit, audio, and text. We're gonna hit text. We're gonna do, now we have add text, we have stickers, and we have auto captions. I'm gonna do a really quick, my mom taught me, let's do, and I'm gonna say mommy. Mommy and maths taught me never give up. So get that in there. I want this on a different line. So I'm gonna hit this kind of down arrow on my keyboard.
So exactly as it's typed in is how it's going to appear on the screen.
Pretty much, which is
Okay.
annoying, but it is what it is. So I'm gonna give this a little bit of a different style. I'm gonna change the color of it. I don't have quite as much time. Actually, we'll probably do some more like a blue to be like Dallas. And then I am going to, actually, we'll just do this for now, just for time's sake. I can go over that another time if I come back. If Tiffany lets me back is what I mean. I'd love to come back. Okay. And so we'll do that, right? And then we'll click add text again to get us back into our, trying to get to my text menu, but my Zoom stuff is getting in the way. Okay, we'll click text, right? And when we click text, we get our text field. How to remove background on your video, overlay with another content. And CapCut, I see what you're saying, but I may not have time for that today. And thank you for telling me that you heard that buzz, Missy. All right, so, right, our title is going to start here. Where'd my title go? There we go. So title is going to start there. It's going to end. Now we're going to do those captions, right? So we're going to do auto cap. So here's how this works. You pick your animation, which is how you want the text to pop up. All those pro animations are if you are subscribed to CapCut Pro. But you can pick how you want them to appear. It could be one letter at a time. It could be one word at a time. And I think for this, I think this will probably work best. All right. And so now when I hit start, it's going to generate some captions for me. And you can actually do this with any video. So let's say you had a webinar and you wanted to import your webinar and get some captions for it, you could do that as well. So, and I actually personally think that CapCut has the best auto caption feature right now, because I've used auto caption on like Adobe Premiere and some of the other what's it called? What do they say? Industry standard video editing softwares, and they're just not as good. Okay, so now we're actually going to delete that because it basically listens to everything on the timeline. So it made captions for what the announcer was saying here. So we want to delete that out. And we want to actually take this. We'll move that a little bit closer. All right. And so now we have our captions, right? The next step of that is you do have to read through your captions and make sure they got them all right. But again, as I was saying, the auto captions are a lot easier on here because it does a much better job of correctly interpreting what it is that you're saying. There's very few things that I have to go into and change whenever I am working with CapCut. So it actually tells you, you get a little bit of an image of or a preview of what the text says, but then you also get it, of course, up here on the screen.
Pause right there, if you don't mind. Like, so those captions are right below the overlay. So how do you know that those are your words versus, like you said earlier, the announcers?
So what I actually did this prematurely, right? But what I would normally do in this instance is I would go in and I would actually turn the audio of the overlays. I would turn the audios of the overlays off.
Okay.
Right. So I would hit volume and I would basically bring those all the way down. And it works the same way. As basically CapCut just listening to what's on the timeline. So when you mute it, CapCut can't hear it either. So it's not going to create captions for it. The way that you tell, but let's say you did it anyway. The way that you tell is they are all on the timeline together. And they do a pretty good job of putting the text right below the video that it transcribed to create the caption. So since I see this long stretch of what I know is gameplay. I mean, I'm sorry, footage, and there's text on it. I can double check that text just to be sure that it's you know, what I actually want the caption to be. So I know that this is stuff that I don't need.
Okay, let that ask the question too. Can you correct spelling on auto captions?
Yes, you can. And this is actually why you're going through and you're looking at everything that it's saying, right? Because once you click here, So my once you click on either of these individual new caption images,
Mm-hmm.
in the bottom at the bottom of my screen in my little menu, I have split, style, and batch edit. When you hit batch edit, this brings up all of your captions. And so this is the area where you would go in if it has something wrong, right? And you could go in and you can change it
Okay,
and
great.
put what you need, right? And so the final part for that would basically just be um, making sure that your captions are correct, making sure that what you wanted transcribed was transcribed. And the last thing that I would probably do is I would go back to my main menu here. I would grab a sticker. That sticker may say something like subscribe. And then I would let that close out my video. And that's the typical process that I would go through for editing a video like this. That is all I have, aside from answering any quick questions. And then the last thing that you'll do is export it. And so here at the top right corner, there's a part where it says 1080p and an up arrow. That up arrow is, you click on that and then you start to export your video out. Now, when it says keep CapCut open and don't lock your screen, keep CapCut open and do not lock your screen, or you're gonna lose. You're gonna lose your. It can't process and export in the background. It has to be on. It has to be open on your screen. All right. But that I will.
All right.
My screen.
So we got a couple of things, Christian.
Sure.
One, someone earlier asked what your TikTok handle is, so for sure, make sure they know how to follow up with you. Two, the young lady asked how to remove background from your video and overlay it with another content in CapCut. That's Jane. Jane is my assistant. She's the girl that keeps my life straight. So in answering that question for her will make my world a lot easier. So, she's the one who creates all the videos that are on my platform. So I would ask, if you don't mind, may not necessarily need to happen now, but at some point, if we could reconnect so that so that question can get answered. And then thirdly, I believe that you have a challenge coming up that I think would be great to introduce to everyone.
Yes, can y'all hear me?
Yes, sir. You're not on mute.
Yes, I do have a challenge coming up, and I invite all of you to be a part of the challenge. This is a 30-day content creator development challenge, right? So what happens is and I talked a little bit about this a couple of weeks ago when I was here. One of the biggest issues that I see with new creators, and even just creators who have been in it for a little bit of time, but don't have any momentum, and they don't have any momentum because they don't have any reps. They don't have the repetition. They don't do it enough, right? They don't post enough. They don't get enough audience feedback. They don't have enough losses, really. They haven't failed enough. They haven't put enough out there to get feedback in order to be able to make good decisions about really how they engage with their own content, how their audience is engaging with their content, what content they actually like to make, as opposed to what content that they can make that just that is just popular. And that's a bit of a journey. And one of the things that Mr. Beast says, Mr. Beast is the most followed content creator on the planet with 269 million subscribers on YouTube, right? One of the things that he says is, I don't even want you thinking about what's going wrong with your channel, or why you're not being successful, or why you haven't gotten views, or what niche you're supposed to be in, what niche you're not supposed to be in, if you haven't at least uploaded 100 videos onto your platform on YouTube, right? And so what this challenge is designed to do was get a little bit uncomfortable, right? And get you in a space where you are making content creation a part of your daily routine, and you are shocking kind of those new creative muscle fibers into saying, I can make content, and I can make content consistently, and I can consistently show up. Showing up for yourself, and then showing up for wherever your audience is that's waiting on you to make some content and impact them the way that we know you can. So it's definitely a something that you are going to have to be dedicated in. I personally will be hard on people to say, make sure you're doing this, make sure you're committing to whatever goals that you set. And so that starts on Monday. And so we'll be making content. I mean, be prepared. If you're going to be a part of it, be prepared to be putting out 3 pieces of content a day, Monday through Friday, for that 30-day period. And you will have the support of me looking at your content, and due to all the experience that I've had, not just in the last 3 or 4 years where I've gotten these large followings, but I've been in the space making content for 10 plus years, right? And then also feedback from your other peers who will be in the challenge as well. And I'm going to also bring in a couple of guest speakers to be a part of it as well, who have built large followings of their own, because I have a lot of connections with people who have, 200,000, 300,000, 400,000, 500,000 followers. And so that is, of course, welcome to everyone present. I would just say, I want you to, let me grab that.
So you're gonna grab the link for us and drop it in the chat.
Yes, I'm going to drop some. That's what I'll drop in the chat. I will drop my community link in the chat, and then the my convert and flow number to text in the chat as well.
So those things get them registered directly?
It doesn't get them, actually. I have to still create the group link for it, so it doesn't get them registered directly, but I'll have
All right, so let's do it like this. Let's do it like this. You get that info. I'm going to send out a link today so they actually get a copy of the recording, so they can get a copy of the recording when we do. I'll send them the registration link. So you get that stuff together, and then I'll pass it through. Is there a fee to be a part of the challenge?
Yes, the fee for the challenge is $29.
And does it make a difference what level?
It does not.
And it starts on Monday and runs for how many days?
It's a 30-day challenge.
Okay, all righty. Okay, so this is all going to be our follow-up. For anybody that's interested, if you'd like to be a part of it, I'll make sure I send information out to you guys via email at some point today, tomorrow, depending upon how long it takes him to get the finishing pieces together, but you'll definitely get more information. And then tell them where you're at on social media.
Oh, so the 2 best places to see me are, this is my main profile, Fullerfied, and then my another profile that I have where I operate more kind of talking about content creation and mentorship stuff, is the second link, which is Combination Creator. So I just dropped those 2. I dropped those 2 in the chat.
Okay, so at Fullerfied.
Mm-hmm.
At Fullerfied, that's going to be no matter where, like Instagram, YouTube, TikTok.
Yeah, Fullerfied is everywhere. So you can find me on Instagram, on TikTok. If you got Snapchat, I have I'm on there as Fullerfied. And then my YouTube, one of my YouTube channels is qualified as well.
Okay, all righty. So, well, if that is the case again, combination of two things. One, we'll make sure that we follow it by email. As long as you register to as long as you register to attend today's event, then you will have I'll have your email address on file, and I will send you an email in order to do it. If for some reason you're in here and you did not register for today's event, then you'll want to put your email either in the chat or send me a direct message inside of here, so that I can make sure to follow up with you. But we'll make sure that we send out all the information for you guys in order, one, to get a copy of it, and then two, to join the challenge. All righty, Miss Cookie, I got you. Miss Regina, thank you very much. All righty, so Christian, thank you again. Appreciate everything that you've done today. This has been great. Again, if you guys weren't here a couple of weeks ago, he came on and he just kind of talked a little bit just about, creating content in general. And then from there, we decided, to try to do this tutorial on using CapCut. And so again, I love CapCut. It's not too difficult for me to figure out. I don't consider myself to be highly technical, just a little tech, but I do think it's a pretty user-friendly platform, whether you're getting on the desktop or here on your cell phone to kind of figure things out. So with that, unless you guys have any other questions, I'm going to close things out, and we'll see you guys again in email or on social media. You guys take care.
Great day, everyone.
Thank you.